I was in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, as you can see behind me. And I was traveling. I was working with Newell at the time, and I was the international sales manager for all of the what were called the specialty divisions. We handled the writing instruments, and one of the companies that we worked with was called Goody, and Goody made hair care products, barrettes and uh, just ribbons and things for girls' hair. Anyway, our I believe it was the largest customer in the world for Goody outside of the US, and certainly the largest customer in all of South America that I was there visiting. And it was a Japanese trading company, and their name was Nisho Iwa. And Nisho Iwa was $1 million customer for us. And we were a smallish company, and so $1 million customer was pretty much a big deal. So I was there in Rio on a Friday, and I had lunch at a local restaurant with the people from Nishoiwa. There were three of them there. There was a Brazilian guy, there was a Brazilian Jewish guy, and there was a Japanese man. And we sat at this nice restaurant, and as is my way, I was telling them stories and chattering away like a bird, and we had a very nice time. And at the end of the lunch, they told me that they would like to take me to the marketplace on Saturday. And I said, well, that sounds like a very good idea. And so the next morning, they picked me up early in the morning and they drove me around to all of the different grocery stores and department stores and the like that were carrying Goody products. And I thought it was very nice. And at the end of our tour, they said, Mr. Yamazaki greatly enjoyed your company yesterday at lunch, and he would like to take you out golfing tomorrow. Well, first of all, it was a bit of a surprise to me because I didn't know that Mr. Yamazaki even spoke English, because the entire lunch that we sat there, he didn't say a single word. But again, $1 million customer, I said, well, listen, I have tourist plans on Sunday. We're going to the top of this mountain and going to see the Jesus symbol and all the different things in Rio. So I can't and I'm not much of a golfer, but maybe we can go out for dinner or drinks on Sunday evening. And they said that's fine. They'll get back with me. And indeed, they called me later in the day and said that Mr. Yamazaki would like that very much, and he will pick you up at 7 p.m. on Sunday night. So I thought it was fine, and I asked if the American, the Texan guy that was traveling with me, if he could come along as well, and they said that's fine. Again, he was with Intercraft, and he didn't have anything to do with Nisho Iwa, but he was bored and wanted something to do. So anyway, the next night at 7 o'clock, they picked us up. And I got into the back of the limousine that was there to pick us up. And there was the Japanese man, Mr. Yamazaki. And he said, Daniel-san, thank you so much for coming. We would like to take you to a Brazilian sauna. And I thought, oh, that seems a little bit weird to go to a sauna, but Sunday night, okay, what am I going to do? And $1 million customer again. So anyway, they drove us to the sauna, and we get there, and we get in line, and apparently you have to pay to get into the sauna, which is not, I suppose, unusual. And it was, and you big travelers, you understand this, but you get to a country and you're never exactly sure how much things cost because you're not sure of what the exchange rate is. But as I'm getting into the sauna, and they charged me in cruceros, and it seemed to me that they were charging me $50 just to come into the sauna, which seemed like a lot of money, but especially in a country like Brazil, which is not a rich country. And I thought, but okay. And I handed over my money, and we get in, and we walk down the hallway, and you enter a changing room, and they have the big white cotton robes that are waiting for you there. And they say, okay, Daniel-san, you have to take all your clothes off and put on the robe. Okay. Again, I'm not feeling that strange because it's a sauna. So you go into sauna, you don't often have clothes, or you just have a robe on or whatever. So I did as I was instructed to do, and I put on my robe, and we walked out of the changing room, and then we walked up a flight of stairs, and there was a fairly large open area that was looked like a bar. In fact, in the back corner there was a bar, and in the left corner where we sat, there were some comfortable couches, and then there was a big open space, and big. I mean, you could kick a football across it. And there were nobody there except me, Yamazaki, and the Texan, the bartender. And then there were three girls there, young girls. I mean, honestly, it's Brazil. They were 16 years old. And they were wearing yellow hot pants and yellow tube tops. And I looked around and I realized, oh my God, this is a brothel, a whorehouse, a Deneville repute. Um, and so and it was I was further confirmed as the girls came over, and there was one girl for each of us, and the little girl that was there for me leaned over and whispered into my ear, and she said, "I want to make love." Apparently, that's the only English words that she knew because she didn't say anything else the rest of the night. And I turned to Yamazaki and I'm fairly shocked. And let me preface this by saying that I don't care what you believe, I don't care what you do, but as a man that travels for business all the time, um, and as a married man, it's just not something that I believe is the right thing to do. I feel like I would be angry if my wife was at home going out with men and sleeping with them. So I can't do that to my wife. So I said to Mr. Yamazaki, I said, Mr. Yamazaki, I don't care what you do, but I'm not really interested in this. I'll have some drinks here with you, but I don't want to do anything else. And he looked strangely at me and said, Daniel-san, you have to learn to separate your personal life from your business life. And I said, again, Mr. Yamazaki, it's fine. I don't care what anybody else does, but this is something that is important to me, and I'm just not going to do it. But I'm happy to sit here and have drinks. So that's what we did. We ordered drinks, and these three girls, they just waited on us. So they would go up to the bar and get us drinks, and for several hours, we sat there having drinks and talking. We were talking about all sorts of crazy stuff and whatever, and we were having a very good time and getting a little bit drunk, and suddenly Mr. Yamazaki stops and he says, Daniel-san, it's time to go upstairs. And now I'm sort of panicking because, again, on one hand, $1 million customer, and on the other hand, I've got this lifelong belief that it's my core value system. I can't do that. And he said, Daniel-san, it's and again in Brazilian, it's $25 for 7.5 minutes upstairs. So part of me is thinking, well, economically, $50 just to come in the door, $25 more for an enchanted evening. But again, can't do it. And I said, Mr. Yamazaki, I'm not going to go upstairs. And he looked at me very seriously and he says, Daniel-san, I don't care what you do, but you have to go upstairs. And now what am I going to do? And of course the Texan guy, he's jumping up and down and he's ready to go to the races. And so we got up and we each had the girl that was with us. They escort us up the stairs, and my heart is going. And I'm nervous about what am I going to do? And part of me is thinking, well, there's these girls are very Brazilian cute, and there's some people that they look really cute with their clothes on, and then they take their clothes off and they're gross and or whatever. I mean, it's just not appealing. And so we get to the top of the stairs, and there's a woman there. The girls run off to a different area. There's a woman up there, and she hands you a sheet and a condom and directs you to a room. So I'm in room number 2, and I go and I sit down in my robe on this bed, holding the sheet and the condom in my lap, and my heart's going a million miles an hour, and I don't know what to do, and time is ticking by so slowly, and suddenly the door flings open, and there's this girl, naked as the day she was born, and she was a goddess. She was so beautiful. And she came and she sat next to me and put her hand in mine. And I just shook my head and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And she kind of tried some other things. And I said, no. And so we just sat there. Again, she didn't know any English and I don't know any Portuguese. So we just sat there, and we sat there for the 7.5 minutes that I was apparently paying for. And after the 7.5 minutes, we got up and I went back down the stairs and went back and sat in the area. And after some time, Mr. Yamazaki comes down and he sees the girl and he starts speaking to her in Portuguese. And then he looks a little bit cross and he turns to me and he says, Daniel-san, I take you to a place where there's good girls. And I said, oh, Mr. Yamazaki, it's not that. She's beautiful. It's just, like I said, it's part of my moral code and I can't do this. And after a few minutes, the big Texan guy comes jumping down the stairs with glee, and he's all happy, and Mr. Yamazaki's happy. And he said, Daniel-san, I take you to another place. And I said, okay, but I don't want to go to another song. He said, no, we'll go to a bar. And so again, it's probably midnight now and a little bit drunk, and we go to this bar. He's got his limousine waiting for him and brings us to this bar. And the thing about Mr. Yamazaki and sort of in his defense is that these Japanese trading companies, they trade a million different products. And for instance, they sold Brazilian coal to the Japanese steel manufacturers for the steel production. And so the Japanese businessmen would come and they would buy their coal, and he would show them, okay, here's some Brazilian coal. And they would say, that's great, let's go to the saunas. More cultural in Japan. I mean, it certainly happens a lot in American businessmen, but culturally in Japan, it's like a thing. And so he doesn't exactly understand. But anyway, so we're on our way to this bar, and we get in, and this is a traditional bar. Again, a big area, and there was we went and sat in a round table with a curved bench sort of behind it. So it was, imagine a semicircle of seats, and to sort of the front left of us is a dance floor where there's some people dancing on the dance floor, some well-dressed, sort of elegant women, and I suppose there's some men. I don't remember precisely, but and then over to the right in the far corner, there's a spotlight, and there's a single dancer, naked dancer, stripper sort of a girl, and she's up there dancing, and then there's a bunch of people at different tables. So it was a fairly crowded place as opposed to the sauna. And we're sitting, we order some drinks and we're having a few more drinks. And at one point I turned to Yamazaki and I said, "Oh my goodness, Mr. Yamazaki, that girl up there on the dance floor, the girl in the black, she could be on Vogue magazine. She is as beautiful as any woman I've ever seen." And no sooner did I finish my sentence than Mr. Yamazaki says like this, clicks his thumb, and they go and they bring this beautiful girl to sit next to me. And she leans over and she whispers in my ear. She says, "For $100, I'll come back to your room for the night." So economically, again, is only in the sauna, it was $25 for 7.5 minutes. Here for $100, she's going to be the whole night. But she puts her hand on my thigh, and I sort of gentlemanly take her hand and take it off and say, "No, this is not something that I'm going to do." And with some disappointment, she got up and went away. And we had a few more drinks, and then we go outside, and Mr. Yamazaki turns to me and he says, "Daniel-san, I know where there's a place with boys if you'd like." And I just laughed and I thought, he's going to get me laid if it's with a goat. And I thanked him very much, but I did not want the boys either. And we got me in the limousine and brought me home. And that's the end of the story. So goes Brazil. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again.